Hey, eighth grade. I was just going to try to go through some of your questions on your packet with you today. I know your science isn't until tomorrow, but I was going to go ahead and get them posted today so that when you got ready to, you go ahead and get started. I don't want the videos to get too long, so I'm probably going to break this up into two videos. And so on the first one, I'm going to go through pages 325 to, what was that? 333, and then I'll do a second video from 334 till the end of your packet. All right, so let's get started. Number one on page 325 is asking you about a Bohr model. Remember that Bohr models are just the models of atoms that we drew at the beginning of the year. So that's all a Bohr model is. It's just a drawing of an atom with your protons, neutrons, and electrons. So on the first page, numbers 1, 2, and 3, number 1 is asking you again about that Bohr model of an atom. So remember, it's asking you to compare something. So you're going to have to compare something that has a dense center. So the nucleus would be in the center, and then you would have some other things orbiting around because the electrons are going to orbit around the outside of your nucleus. So choose something that's going to have a densely packed center and then other things orbiting around it on the outside. 2 and 3, you're just going to have to know where your subatomic particles are located. And then number 3 down at the bottom, your ape. Atomic number equals protons equals electrons. So next page, starting with number 4. Number 4 is asking you about neutrons. So remember your man, atomic mass minus your atomic number, that's the same as your protons, is going to equal your neutrons. So you're going to have to subtract. Number 5 is asking you about a reactive on the periodic table. So remember on your periodic table that 1 and 17 are the most reactive, and group 18 is going to be the most stable. It's not going to want a reactor bond with anything. Number 6, it says the rate at which an element tends to undergo a chemical change. If something is undergoing a chemical change, it just means it's sharing, it's bonding together, it's sharing those valence electrons. So if it's talking about bonding together in a chemical change, all it's asking you is it reactive or not? Or what's it going to react with? That's it, it's just talking about reactivity. Page 327 is asking you about groups and periods. So remember when we learned this earlier, groups group is valence electrons, and then pi's for period is energy shell. So make sure you remember the difference between those two. Number 8 is asking you for a total. So remember, if it asks you for total, you're going to add. That is a simple math question, sorry. My telephone's telling me I have a low battery. Number 9, all you need to do is look at your periodic table, and I'll make sure I post another one of those if you somehow misplace yours. Number 10, ask you which can you not use to distinguish a chemical element from another. So remember, you can identify your element through the protons, which is the same as your atomic number. You can also identify through the mass. You can also identify through electrons, because remember, your electrons are the same as your protons. The A, P, and E are all equal to each other. So really the only one that you can identify something with is going to be those neutrons, because you're going to have to go calculate or subtract to find the number of neutrons. Number 11 is asking you how many atoms are there, and in a chemical equation they're giving you. Remember, if there is no subscript, that it's 1. Just like in math where you have a variable without a number, it means there's 1 of them. And remember that that subscript, it only goes with what it's attached to. So if it's attached to one element, it goes with that one element. If it's attached to a whole set of parentheses, then it goes to everything inside the parentheses. So that shouldn't be too hard either. Remember that all a subscript is just the number of atoms of each element. Number 13, it asks you to write a chemical formula that has magnesium and 2 nitrate ions. So here they're giving you the formula for nitrate, right here. Where'd it go? Oh, right here. Okay, and it says you have 2 of them. So actually what it's asking you is magnesium, and you would have 2 of these. So to get 2 of these, I would write this and put it in parentheses, and then you're going to need to make sure that you have a subscript of 2 around your whole set of parentheses, because you're going to have 2 of all of this right here. What number is that? Number 14, matter changes from a liquid to a solid. So remember, if it's changing from a liquid to a solid, it's going to be like water changing into ice. So basically what's happening when it changes water into ice. Chemical energy is just energy that's stored for you to use later. Number 16, it's asking you to describe the flow of energy through something as living. Remember that any time that you show transfer of energy through a living system, if it's living, it must start with the producer, and the producer must have sunlight. So make sure on number 16 that you start with the sun. Without the sun, we have absolutely no life. All right, next page, page 330. It's asking you, what are the producers? Remember that producers are anything that photosynthesize and make their own food. And remember that plants aren't the only things that photosynthesize. So plankton, phytoplankton, algae, all of those are producers. Number 18, all you have to do on number 18 is remember that basically what do producers need to photosynthesize? Basically, and that'll help you on that one. Page 331, number 19. All you have to know on that is your evidence of a chemical reaction. And I posted that, your notes from chemical reaction last week. So it's just evidence of a chemical reaction. Number 20 is asking you which one of them has only a chemical change. Okay, only chemical. Remember that also, if something undergoes a chemical change, it can never go back to what it was before. It can't go back. It's created a whole new substance. And those atoms have rearranged themselves so that they can't go back to what they were before. So if you're going to ask yourself if something has undergone a chemical change, you're going to ask yourself, like on number 21, is it a new substance? If it created a new substance, it's a chemical change. If it's the same substance, just in a different form, then it's a physical change. Number 22 on page 331, you're going to have to go back and look at your journal for properties of metals, which most of you should already know by now. Page 332, it's asking you which one of those is a good conductor. It's talking about conducting electricity, so that you should know as well. Is metal, non-metal, or metalloid, which one of those are going to be the best conductor? Number 24 is asking you about the properties of nonmetals. Remember, the properties of nonmetals are just the opposite of your properties of metals. Now, number 25 may give you a little bit of a hiccup. So it's showing you a rock, and they're telling you that the volume of the rock is 43 centimeters cubed, and ask you to find the density. Of course, you're going to use your triangle or use your formula to find the density, but before you can do that, you have to know the mass. So it doesn't tell you the mass, but it's giving you what the mass is on the scale right here. So it didn't come out and tell you, but you should be able to find it from that. All right, page 333. It's asking you about which one of them has the greatest density, and it gives you the mass of all of them, but it doesn't give you the volume of any of them. But it does tell you that all of them have the same volume. So you can just make up a volume as long as you use the same volume for every one of these. So you could use 1 as the volume for A, B, C, and D and calculate it. And after you get going, you really probably shouldn't have to calculate that at all. It should be kind of common sense. But if you need to work it out, by all means work it out and use a volume of 1 for every single one of them. 27, you're looking for you're looking for the density again. They've given you the mass, but they have not given you the volume. So this is a simple, y'all did that in the 5th grade. You're going to have to find the volume of a rectangular prism, length times width times height, before you plug it into your density formula. All right, that's it. I'll go back and post pictures of my pages on Remind so that you can look at my notes. I know I'm running through this really fast, but I'll post pictures of my notes from my journal, and I'll post my pictures that I just showed you as I was flipping through this, and then I'll make a separate video on the rest of your building stamina. See you later.